how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Now you're poking fun at it. So now it's just a big joke? This whole thing's a joke? This is absolute cringeworthy and they should be ashamed. Did they rewrite the SNL scripts too? Terrible humans.
Did Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have their first public sighting at Sant Liv's 50th anniversary? They are saying they teased about it all. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were spotted at the SNL 50th anniversary event, posing for cameras. Like nothing was off. This was the first time they'd been seen publicly since Justin Baldoni took them to court for $400 million, and they behaved as if it were just an ordinary evening. Blake wore a silver floral gown, totally confident, while Ryan stuck to a black tux. But watchers say their body language revealed more than outfits. "Blake and Ryan, look here!" someone allegedly yelled. Blake stayed focused on Ryan, apparently, bracing for the second he'd spout something foolish. He always seems to. And then the show got going. Jokes were flowing, until the hosts looked at Ryan. "Ryan, how's everything going?" "Great." "Why? What have you heard?" people say was the question that set things off. He could have responded any polite way or dodged it, or kept quiet, but apparently he chose a sarcastic path. Observers claim that the moment Amy Poehler and Tina Fey asked, he grinned and threw a cutting remark. "How's it going?" "Great." "But why did you hear something?" folks in the audience heard him imply. And that's when the atmosphere changed. People laughed, but it wasn't true amusement. It was more like a chuckle masking secondhand embarrassment because nearly everyone there knew the story. The lawsuit, the headlines, the giant PR nightmare trailing Blake and Ryan for ages. Insiders imply even Steven Spielberg was sort of like, okay, while some watchers found it mildly funny. But the one individual who wasn't amused was Blake Lively. Her face apparently said it all. Right as Ryan spoke, she turned to him, eyes serious, face rigid. It seemed like she was thinking, "Are you really doing this now?"
How's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
If there was one thing Blake hoped to avoid, it was this. She didn't want their legal drama turned into SNL jokes. Sure, some folks from Anna to Taylor showed mild discomfort, but Ryan didn't care. This is his pattern. He transforms real life, blows into jokes. When the lawsuit surfaced in December 2024, did Ryan step back and handle it maturely? Allegedly no. Did he publicly stand by Blake in a supportive way? Also no, they're saying. Instead, evidence is starting to point to Ryan using his wisecracking Deadpool persona to ridicule Justin Baldoni, unveiling a nice pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine that, according to those close to the situation, looked like a direct dig at Baldoni's style. Same soft-spoken vibe, same big feminist messaging, same hollow male ally routine. The character went on about toxic masculinity while being mocked as a joke. Supposedly, Ryan even included something about pregnancy, a topic Baldoni is famously vocal about. Everyone quickly caught on. They believed this was more than a harmless Deadpool bit. It was a planned jab. And months later, Ryan did it again, but on live TV with Blake stuck in the crossfire. Some insiders are calling it petty. They wonder why he'd do this if he truly cared about Blake's peace.
I love the acting. She's really, what? Have you heard something? Have you heard something? Even Steven Spielberg's kind of like, okay, what? Now, definitely people laughed at it. It got some laughs.
Right after that wisecrack, the vibe in the room apparently shifted more. The SNL host seemed unsure whether to laugh or just move past it, because while Ryan was throwing out jokes, everyone knew the lawsuit was no laughing matter. People say he then changed the subject by rambling about the cone heads. He asked if the cone props were edible, and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler allegedly rolled with it. Tina said she assumed they were toxic because they'd been made back in 1975. Ryan kept up the bit, playing concerned. If someone hypothetically nibbled them, should they get medical help? Amy apparently didn't skip a beat, answering, "Yes, go now." This conversation continued, burying the lawsuit talk. The audience giggled, though probably because they weren't sure what else to do. Some folks think it was staged, giving SNL a scoop. And poor Blake Lively, who spent years building her all-American darling reputation, apparently watched her entire image collapse in a single statement. It wasn't a huge lawsuit meltdown, no big scandal, no career-ending leak. It was just one careless remark that let the public see a certain arrogance that the internet can't forget. Sources are calling it forced that both Blake and Ryan were there at SNL. They've never hosted, he apparently popped in once as a cameo.
It got some laughs, a little uncomfortable from Anna Taylor, and then Kevin Costner just didn't react at all.
Then, everything got even uglier at a New York press day for It Ends With Us, a movie already drowning in bad PR. This was meant to be a chance for Blake to show she was still the champion of a powerful female-led film. According to those present, a Hollywood reporter named Kirsty DeFleur, described as a seasoned pro, was set to talk to Blake. She congratulated Blake on her little bump because Blake was pregnant during filming. But that's where things got sour fast. Insiders say Blake reacted instantly and viciously, responding with something like, "Congrats on yours," while glaring. The reporter allegedly went pale because she wasn't pregnant, and it was public knowledge she struggled with fertility. She wasn't expecting such a personal attack. Within minutes, the clip was online. People on Twitter, Insta, TikTok, they were all roasting Blake. She'd been adored for so long, but observers called her conduct downright cruel. It didn't look like a flub or misheard comment. It looked deliberate. Kirsty came forward on July 15, 2024, confirming it was humiliating. She explained she had spent years trying to have children and said Blake's words hit like a punch in the gut. She also insisted she had no tie to Justin Baldoni or any Hollywood scheme. She was just a reporter doing her job. And Blake, apparently, went out of her way to put her down. People recall Kirsty saying she almost left her career after that. Others note this wasn't the first time she'd found Blake rude. She had interviewed her for a simple favor and had a similar negative encounter. This was the tipping point. The internet turned on Blake Lively more viciously than ever. Folks didn't care about It Ends With Us or the lawsuit with Baldoni. They cared about who Blake really was beneath that polished PR front. Even people who had shrugged about the legal drama suddenly had a reason to be mad at her. The headlines switched from focusing on the case to focusing on her character. Everyone asked, has Blake Lively always been this terrible? They are saying that Kirsty clarified she had no part in a smear campaign against Blake, but Blake was apparently losing not just the public but her grip on things. While online comments tore her apart, her PR team launched a large-scale smear strategy against Justin Baldoni. According to an expert familiar with the matter, if they couldn't prevail with facts, they'd resort to tarnishing him. So stepped in Stephanie Jones and Leslie Sloan, known as two of Hollywood's most influential publicity pros. They'd built careers saving celebs from nightmares. But this time, they weren't out to save Blake. They were allegedly out to ruin Baldoni. Someone implied they had a rough run-in with Blake Lively and felt done with Hollywood, so they posted a clip. Meanwhile, journalists say it's obvious Kirsty had no link to Justin or the PR teams we're discussing. By August 2024, the smear campaign was allegedly in full force. Anonymous tips poured in. Big outlets published negative stories about Baldoni. Suddenly, the narrative was that he was controlling, tough to work with, even possibly abusive. Some articles hinted at brand new allegations without official charges. The plan, according to sources close to the case, paint him as guilty no matter what. One observer is claiming it wasn't all the PR team's doing, because apparently more than 50 people reached out privately about bad experiences with Blake. But it was more than rumors. There was a total media assault. The biggest bombshell? The New York Times, considered top tier, ran a pro-Blake piece presenting her accusations as fact. It looked like a huge victory for her, until Baldoni's side hit back. They released a massive file on September 4th, 2024, full of receipts, emails, and texts that connected some so-called anonymous sources right to Blake's PR. They also revealed that the Times had edited certain messages to make Baldoni appear worse. Right then, the entire spin fell apart. People say more proof suggested her own reps were aware she was threatening, mean, and determined to have her way. Hollywood panicked. Execs who had supported Blake went silent. Co-stars who once had her back ghosted. Media outlets that had championed her version of events wouldn't touch it anymore. She wasn't only losing public sympathy, she was losing her place in Hollywood itself. Some argue that the Baldoni cut tested better than Lively's cut of It Ends With Us, but apparently her cut still got the green light. Even then, he kept quiet. Yet now Blake was in freefall, losing a lawsuit, losing her image, losing everything. Over the years, she was regarded like Hollywood royalty. Poised, glamorous, unstoppable. She was the shining star with an impeccable name. But people behind the scenes had whispered of a totally different Blake for ages. She was only perfect in public. Her staff, crew, and assistants saw another side. By October 2024, more than 50 industry folks stepped up with chilling accounts of what working with Blake Lively was really like. Observers say it wasn't just typical star demands, but truly awful stuff. An attorney connected to the case claims he's received at least 50 messages from individuals who describe Blake as the hardest person they've worked for. They mention it ends with us crew who were told not to chat with her, not to make eye contact, not to approach her unless it was vital. That's more than typical celebrity distance. They talk about a climate of fear, never knowing if they'd get screamed at or fired. Some are saying her own publicists understood exactly who they were handling. One ex-publicist for multiple major stars implied Blake's reputation was nasty. She was in charge, manipulative, and unstoppable when she wanted her way. And that's exactly how It Ends With Us panned out. A reporter close to the situation said that was the final straw. That film was Justin Baldoni's dream. He'd been passionate about it for years, working with Colleen Hoover to stay loyal to its message on domestic violence. He had a solid plan and a loyal team, plus a version that scored better with test audiences than Blake's. But according to multiple folks involved, Blake simply decided it wouldn't be his version. Word is that a recording exists of Blake bragging about manipulating her surroundings to gain full control. By April 2024, she'd pushed him out of his own movie. She commanded the final cut, changed major scenes, and made sure her version got released. When he objected, she allegedly had him blocked from the editing bay altogether. One of his editors later claimed in September 2024 that Blake took parts of Justin's original cut but used them without his okay. By June 2024, she ran all the marketing, turning the project into her personal story. They are saying Ryan Reynolds quietly stood by her, joking in public and dodging the scandal. He let her handle the legal side. But behind the curtain, it's alleged he took a big part in discrediting Justin Baldoni. In January 2025, Justin's legal crew said Ryan Reynolds was also getting sued. Cause was a secret meeting at the couple's penthouse that apparently changed everything. Insiders suspect it wasn't a friendly gathering, but a strategic move to force Baldoni out. Some in the industry say that in March 2024, months before the lawsuit, top folks from Sony and It Ends With Us met there to discuss whether to keep Baldoni involved. An executive in the room told Deadline in January 2025 that Ryan didn't merely voice concerns, he tore into him. They described Ryan's behavior as hostile, humiliating, and not at all professional. Witnesses felt bad for staying quiet. The motive? He implied it wasn't about protecting Blake from harm. It was about breaking Justin so that Blake could have total power. Others are questioning that if he truly believed Justin mistreated Blake, why not go through proper legal steps? Why not raise it with HR or the studio's legal division? Possibly because this wasn't about justice. Observers say it was about control. Ryan aimed to guarantee that Blake ran the show, suppressing any dissent. It apparently continued once the lawsuit became public in December 2024. Multiple insiders say Ryan gave tips to reporters beforehand, priming the coverage so Baldoni would be branded the villain. Is it bad for someone accused to respond by saying, "No, that's untrue, plus I think this person isn't honest"? People are split on that. Meanwhile, author Colleen Hoover, who wrote the novel, has shown support for Lively. But as this legal fight intensifies, many who used to praise Lively are staying quiet. Possibly they're scared to be caught in the mess. Ryan Reynolds, known for his fun, comedic image, is also facing some backlash. His comedic tactic on the SNL 50th anniversary show, where he jokingly sidestepped the issue, got mixed reviews. Some found it amusing, others thought it ignored the seriousness. In the midst of this chaos, Justin Baldoni's support is growing. He had big setbacks. His talent agency WME dropped him after Lively's accusations. But as more information leaks, some in Hollywood are reconsidering. People say a big strike against Lively was when an old interview from 2009 resurfaced, where she admitted to turning the Gossip Girl team against Penn Badgley. She disliked his casting and had swayed everyone's view, though later she recognized he was a good guy. This is being cited by Baldoni's side to show a pattern of manipulative ways. Anyone can imagine the youthful chaos on that Gossip Girl set, Leighton, Blake, Penn, all that drama. Sources say they can't picture a day without tension. All. These revelations are spurring Hollywood to take a step back from the once shining couple. Events that would have welcomed them with open arms now apparently omit them from the invite list. Projects they seemed destined for go ahead without them. Observers feel they're losing clout. a far cry from being Tinseltown's power pair. In a Vogue chat, Blake acknowledged she's not thrilled by starting over. So why does this matter? Because as the lawsuit continues, the implications are huge. They could see their images further harmed, and studios might be reluctant to involve them. Or if they do somehow win, that might salvage some credibility, but these wounds won't heal quickly. For Baldoni, the result could either clear his name and revive his career, or lock in the damage. Some claim Blake once said she'd rather take an existing script and find hidden angles than start with a blank page. A treasure hunt, in her words. The question is whether Hollywood now sees a treasure or a cautionary tale. In public opinion and inside industry circles, the tide is shifting. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds once stood as the adorable sweethearts of Hollywood, but they're facing a storm. Whether they regain their high position is up in the air. But the effects of these developments will echo through their personal and professional lives for a long time. If anyone assumed this story couldn't get wilder, hang on, it's not close to done. Go ahead and subscribe, comment, share, because people are saying this chaos is only beginning.